When airspace bans were imposed on Russian carriers after Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, many thought it was game over for the country's largest airlines. These airspace restrictions, combined with sanctions, were expected to cripple Russia's aviation sector. That hasn't exactly been the case, and Russia has simply had to adapt to this new way of doing things. When speaking with Le Monde, a European partner involved in modernizing Moscow's infrastructure stated that there are, quote, logistical problems, longer lead times, and higher costs. However, this source boasts that imported equipment always gets here, some of it Western and some of it Chinese. And so, when it comes to Russia's flag carrier Aeroflot, the overarching theme of adaptation and adjustment to restrictions applies as well. The carrier no longer flies to major cities across Europe, nor does it serve American cities like Los Angeles, New York, Washington, D.C., and Miami. This graphic from a 2019 presentation from the Aeroflot Group shows the airline's pre-pandemic reach. And so now, close to 3 years after airspace restrictions were imposed, where is Aeroflot actually flying? Well, today's video looks at the carrier's 5 longest routes as of December 2024. Before we begin, the usual disclaimers and notes. Average flight times are not the same as block times offered by the airline. Block times will inevitably be longer as they also include taxiing time to and from the gate. Secondly, the distances mentioned in this video are Great Circle distances, the most direct between the two airports. However, routing to adapt to wind patterns and comply with airspace restrictions, flights are often further than the Great Circle distance. Going from 5th longest and ending with the longest Aeroflot route, we begin at number 5 with Moscow to Phuket in Thailand, a destination which the airline serves 2 to 3 times per day. The Great Circle distance of this route is 7,480 kilometers or 4,039 nautical miles. Outbound flights operate to Phuket as SU 274, 276 and 278. Each flight number has a different average flight duration. However, most flights are a little under 9 hours. Returning to Russia, the flights operate as SU 275, 277 and 279. Most flights range between 9 hours and 40 minutes to 9 hours and 45 minutes. Demonstrating just how incredibly popular Phuket is for Russians, all 19 weekly services utilize the high-capacity Boeing 777-300ER. It's not just flights from Moscow Sheremetyevo either. In fact, according to Flight Radar 24, Phuket is also served from 6 other cities across Russia, including Irkutsk, Krasnoyarsk, St. Petersburg, and more. Next, in 4th place, is Moscow to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. The Great Circle distance of this route is 7,728 kilometers or 4,173 nautical miles. Outbound from Sheremetyevo Airport, this flight operates as SU 292 and has an average duration of 9 hours and 10 minutes. Returning to Russia, the flight operates as SU 293 and has an average duration of 10 hours and 10 minutes. These flights are currently being operated about 3 times weekly by one of the airline's 7 Airbus A350-900s. It appears that the most direct routing would see aircraft fly through Chinese airspace. However, from flight path data, it's clear that Aeroflot's jets skirt around the country, opting to fly through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India instead. The third route on this list again originates at Moscow Sheremetyevo and takes passengers to the popular leisure destination of Varadero, Cuba. The Great Circle distance of this route is 9,541 kilometers or 5,152 nautical miles. Outbound, this flight operates as SU 6927 and has an average duration of 13 hours and 19 minutes. Returning to Russia, the flight operates as SU 6928 and has an average duration of 11 hours and 28 minutes. These flights are currently being operated 3 times per week by one of the airline's 22 Boeing 777-300ERs. Second spot goes to another Cuban city, the capital of Havana. The great circle distance of this route is 9,577 kilometers or 5,171 nautical miles. Outbound, this flight operates as SU 6849 and has an average duration of 13 hours and 2 minutes. Returning to Russia, the flight operates as SU 6850 and has an average duration of 11 hours and 36 minutes. These flights are currently being operated just once per week using the Boeing 777-300ER. And now we've reached Aeroflot's longest service, the 10,063-kilometer or 5,434 nautical mile service to Denpasar in Bali, Indonesia. Outbound, this flight operates as SU 296 and has an average duration of 11 hours and 46 minutes. Returning to Russia, the flight operates as SU 297 and has an average duration of 12 hours and 34 minutes. These flights are currently being operated 3 times weekly using the Airbus A350-900. So, those are Aeroflot's longest services currently on offer. It's notable that there are a few other faraway destinations that don't quite make the top 5. Destinations that include Bangkok, Thailand and Colombo, Sri Lanka. With Russia being such a large country, there are also some fairly long domestic flights as well. Aeroflot's longest domestic service appears to be from Moscow Sheremetyevo to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky Airport on the other side of Russia. Served at least once daily, but sometimes twice, it takes about 8 hours in either direction. Yes, it's true that Aeroflot no longer serves American cities or destinations in the European Union. However, with travel being made harder for many Russian nationals anyway, it's clear that demand from the country's citizens has shifted elsewhere. And so it's natural for airlines like Aeroflot to adapt to such changes, meeting the massive demand for flights to destinations across Asia. Closer to Europe, it looks like Istanbul and Dubai are also massively popular destinations for Aeroflot, with the airline offering multiple daily services to both cities. Another reflection upon looking at these routes is that the airline continues to be heavily reliant on Western-built aircraft, which are quite active despite close to 3 years of sanctions on spare parts. Clearly, the Russian aviation sector has adapted well on this front as well. On that note, if you're interested in looking at the airline's full fleet, at least as it was in March 2024, do check out our video on Aeroflot's fleet. We'll include a link to that down in the video description. So, what do you think of Aeroflot's current route network and its longest services? While much of our audience is in North America and Europe, have you flown with the airline lately? Share your thoughts and experiences by leaving a comment down below. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.